You are listening to Life's a Vacay podcast, a weekly podcast series focusing on living a life without limitations. I'm your host, Cha Jones. Each week, I interview purposeful people about what they do and how they do it. Some have traditional professions, while others have designed unconventional careers. But what matters most is that they all are living a life where business and pleasure never separate. Each day is a vacay. So let's get started. Hey, what's up, Jesse? Let's get started. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, the pleasure is mine. I know you're an extremely busy person. And today we're going to be really talking about the fact that you do have a 9-to-5, but you are also a business owner and you are the most traveled person that I know. Like every time I look at your feed, you are somewhere different. And I'm still trying to wonder, how does one do this? So tell my listeners, okay, let's go back. So you work at Amazon. That's your 9-to-5 job, correct?
Correct.
And now you own a restaurant called Poco that's in Seattle. So now you are a business owner, but you truly believe that you have to travel. So tell us a little bit about how you have a 9-to-5, own a business, as you say, so you do a 9-to-5 and then a 5-to-9. And then you still are able to live your life on your own terms. How does one balance all of this?
Wow, I love that question. And I think it starts with mindset first. And I think a lot of us had the awakening during COVID when we went to more virtual, that a lot of our work can be done in wherever, right? And so the restaurant included. While yes, I have a physical space and I have a guest that comes to that physical space and they want to expect a consistent experience, I can build that without me physically being there every day. Right? It'd be impossible for me to be at Poco every day and work at Amazon. So you start there first is, hey, how do I make sure I build things that's repeatable, have a clear vision, a clear plan, and a clear execution, and bring others in on the journey helps make travel and things possible. And so I always tell when you open your mindset to allowing others in that want to pour into you and support you, and see you continue to grow, that's how we do it, because you pour into them as well in other areas of their lives. And that healthy ecosystem allow us to all collectively move around the country, as you hear in the plane. And for me, flying is truly healing, right? When I'm so fascinated by humans, and I love seeing and exploring how people operate and think in different places across the U.S. and beyond. And so when I make these travel trips, I'm getting data points that adds to my mind and my way of thinking and my way of being and how we can be more inclusive. So that's why I love to travel. That's why I'm always energized by it. It actually does impact, in a hopefully a positive way, everything I'm out to create, even here in Seattle.
But there are only 24 hours in a day. And with a full-time job, a business, a physical business at that, you still find a way to do this. One wants to know how, because I'm interested. How do you make this happen?
Yeah. One, I would say tactically, and I'm a little bit crazy, so I can't say I have it perfect because I don't. I'm right in the midst of planning my upcoming trips. My sister is flying here to come see me. She was all big thing for her, and she's excited. And I booked it in like 2 seconds flat. She's like, "How'd you do this?" I said, one is some is mechanical. I've done it so many times. So the actual act of purchasing the ticket is the easiest part for me, right? And I get for some people that is the first step, right? What is going to take the dollars, the resources, and the time to book it. For me, since I do it so often, that's the easiest part. For me, is setting the intention. So I actually have a physical calendar book that I write down, a true, physical leather-bound calendar. Don't judge me. I have the digital calendar too, where I actually map out the intentions to say, I am planning to go to South Africa this week. I may plan to go to Dublin that month. I may go to Bora Bora. I mean, on the fancy places this month. Hey, maybe I plan to go to Vancouver, Canada, right? Because it's close by here this weekend. That's the first step for me. Because then what happens is when things comes in, if I'm planning this at the restaurant or things at work, I look at my calendar and see, am I available? Is this possible? Oh, nope, I plan to be in South Africa that week. Even if I've not purchased a ticket, it's already real in my mind that this trip is happening. So that's the first thing. By putting it on paper, it drives boundaries to allow it the possibility to come, to come real. And then what happens is communication. Be at work, I let my boss know, hey, I'm planning a trip to go to South Africa. So I bring them in on the know, right? And that transparency is so important. When you live your truth and what you're up to, anything's possible. When you don't live your truth and you're operating out of integrity, not letting folks know, that's where you get this blockage. Because if you tell your boss or your team what you're planning on doing, you'd be amazed how fast it's like, oh, I don't even have that meeting this week. Let me move it to the different week. They start accommodating for you because they know, let me lighten the load while he's away travel, right? So that's one step, to let folks know. And then number three is then book the trip. And then if it's a true vacation, honor your time off and do it. If it's a workcation like I do, I think that's a new term, right? Workcation. I work while I travel, right? Poco's never off, right? I'm always working in Poco. So I'm there, I'm handling finances, I'm making phone calls to my team, I'm connected to them. I can do it from the beach and I can do it from my hotel. Like the same I would do it from my house here in Seattle. It's the same, right? I have and so the only time it's impacted is time zone, of course, if you're in a different time zone.
How does one get that kind of energy though? Because you are multitasking. If you are on a true workation, right? Vacation is totally different, right? Because you like, look, I'm off and I'm not answering calls. I'm not doing this, that, or other. It's a little bit more difficult with Poco because that's your baby, right? And so it's like having a child. You don't really get a vacation from your from your job, right? But at the same time, you only have so much time in a day. And you really have to be able to multitask and make that work. Yeah. And I get the boundary aspect of it, but how, I mean, even though you're asking Amazon, hey, or you're telling them, listen, I have this already pre-planned. How are you making that work with all the things that you have committed to?
Yeah, I think the key thing you answered almost, or I'll put it this way, time, right? Every second we can't get back. And we all know where our expiration date is. We like to hope we can be old and live life and have grandchildren or whatever that desire is for you as an individual on this planet. However, we don't know, right? And unfortunately, every day we hear sad stories about that outcome looking different for someone. So every day I have full gratitude. Every breath I have full gratitude and I don't take it for granted. And I live life that way, realizing that every breath is a gift. What I choose to do with it in this moment now is so important. And to not wait to perceive tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, right? Tomorrow never comes. I don't know about you, but have you ever seen tomorrow? No, because tomorrow's the next tomorrow, right? so you look at that mindset and say, okay, so the how, I know I can physically purchase a ticket with a credit card, right? Or cash or points or wherever you may have your means or a family member donating to you. We got the how part is the why. What's your purpose? And so when you have a clear why of what drives you and what's your purpose, then it's easy to make it work, right? So for me, I mentioned earlier, my purpose is every trip I make, it literally fuels my energy. It pours into me. It gives me a chance to see how other folks think outside my daily norm. And as a result, if I can pick up ideas and thoughts that will help benefit Amazon or at Poco or just me as a human, awesome. I love wine. So everywhere I go, you best believe I'm touching a wine place somewhere, right? Okay. I'm looking at the vineyards. Most of my destinations equates wine. Or if it's, hey, I would go to a retreat or read some research or read a book on my plane over that my team can benefit from a leadership development standpoint. Even down to Poco, when I was thinking about Poco and its mission, the mission is to cultivate a safe space where all people can convene co-create, feel celebrated, and build cross-cultural competency, right? While nourishing their body and soul. Now, how am I going to live to that mission if all I know is downtown Seattle, right? Capitol Hill, which is where it resides. So how do I bring in insight and perspective? Good thing with Seattle, we have guests that come here every day that gets on cruise lines that go to Alaska or to Hawaii. So we have internationals, we have locals, we have so many array of people, and they all come to Pike Place because of tossing the fish and seeing Pike Place Market or Starbucks Reserves. And so I get a chance to experience these unique energies that come into my space. And I take technology for granted. And so for me, that's my why. And so when I go on these trips, my why is very present. And that's why I don't old for any reason, right? And I bring that experience with me to everywhere I go. So for you and listeners is find your why, what's your purpose and drives you. And then the other parts just come in, because if you don't have a clear why, that second voice in your head, the first one is intuition. Oh, I need to take a trip on vacation. Trust and listen to that voice. It's trying to tell you something. The second voice is the fear or regret or the guilt, or whatever other emotions they may have that start to tell you, well, I can't go right now. Well, I need to save some money. Well, I need to do this. I'm not saying any of the reasons are wrong, but they keep you at stop. You focus on how I can make this happen, then it puts you in action mode. Maybe it wasn't maybe originally planned. I look at a trip right now to go to Cape Town, and my original dates don't fit well regarding to the price of the tickets. Okay, well, I may need to shift the dates that I originally thought off a month or a week or a day to accommodate. The how is still present. Okay, this didn't work. How can I do it? Or maybe it's next year. Maybe I say, okay, no, I can't do Cape Town this year. I'll do it in 2023. Instead, I'll make a trip to, I don't know, wherever. That may come up online. That's also an opportunity. So for me, having the flexibility to know I don't have to have that precise thing that I set my intentions to, but the flexibility and attention is still present, and I can adjust it, right? And maybe do some of those differently. I think you stay in the action mode and align with your purpose, you'd be amazed at how much you can actually accomplish in that 24 hours.
That's amazing. You mentioned something because you really talked about the pivot of being able to be flexible and shift when things don't meet your expectations, I guess, or they don't fit the calendar and things come up. How important is it to be able to be flexible as, being Mr. Rhodes? Because you do have a daytime job, you do have a whole business, and then you do have the aspiration to continue to travel and to live your life on your own terms. So how do you incorporate the pivot? Because a lot of times I think people get stuck because they don't know how to pivot.
Wow, I love that question. And for those I don't put anyone in a bucket. We all give ourselves titles, and no one's any specific title. But right, we all have everything. Like people call me an extrovert, but I'm also an introvert, right? And so I say it with love. But the folks that will put themselves in the bucket of being a planner, right? To have these marked out and specific to a time zone or to a time and schedule and hotel. Well, I'm about to say make your skin crawl, right? So I too am a planner. I don't highlight it to people, but the way I plan with looseness in the schedule, and I always have two alternative options, right? So I'll have a plan, and then a second option if the first plan doesn't work. Sometimes I have a third option, but that's not the norm. I at least have two. And every day I live this. I work this muscle up. It probably drive other folks crazy. I openly admit to that. My team is learning me and love me and probably learning me too, right? Where I look at the schedule, I see things that occur, and I have an A-B decision to make every single time. There's an A decision or B decision. And if my A decision alters, I go to B. And my B is already ready to be implemented. And then if my B doesn't happen, then I may have to pause and C and go to a C. But if you just have an A and it doesn't work, that's why people get stopped. They may retreat and go back or cancel or get upset with their partner or whatever may be the case. But you have an A plan, and the B plan may not be as specific because it's meant to be a backup plan, right? And then you're operating your B plan, then guess what? Now you have a new A and B, right? And you have your B has now became your A, and what's my next B? And that's kind of how I always operate. I operate in this model of an A-B plan, and where my new A becomes the current plan, and I have a new A-B plan. And that allows the flexibility and decision making. And know what, hey, another way to say it is, it's probably an old term. You got a lot of balls in the air, a lot of eggs in the air. Someone's going to have to just fall down and crack, right? And that's okay. But knowing beforehand which egg you already know will have to fall down and crack, then it's not going to be as impactful. Now, do note, don't let that same egg crack every time. So one time maybe, hey, I need to let this go. And as a result, the impact is I wasn't able to be at POCO for an event that I would love to potentially be there, but I couldn't. But if I keep neglecting the same egg, then there's an impact. So I'm not suggesting that at all. It's understanding where the impact can be and where you can have the greatest gain of your time. Make that decision. We do it every day subconsciously or consciously. I just do it in a planful way to allow me to be flexible. And that's what I do. If I'm on vacation, I'm in rush. I remember one time I was in Rome and I was visiting my niece and with my best friend, and she was in university, and I was still working, right? A couple of days while I was there. And so what I realized, I talked to her, I said, hey, you know what? One day she wanted to spend time with just her mom and her. And I'm like, this is perfect. How about this? Y'all spend this day here, Wednesday, whatever day it was. And that day allowed me to feel not guilty to sit in a hotel and get a lot of work done. And I still block a period of time out at the time difference between Italy and in Seattle. I took that advantage that morning to do fun things, walk around, sightsee by myself, some self-care. And then I came back to the hotel and then spent time at work. I loved it. I didn't impact my friend, didn't impact my niece, I didn't impact Amazon, right? That can happen. It's how you balance those things. So, but I just encourage you, don't let the same egg fall down every time, because then that egg gonna say, I'm not coming back to you no more. You keep dropping me.
Right. Well, I love the fact that you have a plan and that you have the ability to pivot between plans because you do have options. And oftentimes, like you said, people don't move or follow through because they don't, like when one thing falls, they're literally stuck and they're like, yo, I don't even know how to proceed. Correct. So I'm going to shift gears a little. Let's talk about POCO. Like recently, like it's been a year. It's been almost a year.
I feel like it's been a year. I purchased it
October last year.
No, I purchased it in January of this year. January 4th, I think it was. And so it's been. That's why I learned to be patient with myself. Amazon, we always go. So it's been 7.5 months, and I want to be further along than we are. And that's typical me. I purchased it from an amazing friend. That also is Amazonian and Drexel University alum. And it's been around for 16 years. And I love the history and the makeup of the POCO. And it was called POCO Wine Spirits initially because POCO means little, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a little wine room. So you go in there, it's a little cool wine room area, and you got a loft upstairs, and it has this kind of cheers effect. A lot of first dates come into space. And that's what's there, including myself. I go there on first dates. I used to before I owned it. Now I can't do it. It's weird. So first date there, and it's a cool spot. And so it's been Black owned for the last 3. I'm the third Black owner out of its history. The first 2 owners were, and they're all still involved. They still come out and engage. It was a gay couple, 2 men, the original owners, and then they sold it to their friend. About 5 years later, it was also a gay couple with a partner, and they had it for about a good 5 years strength. And then they sold it to a Black couple, and they had it for about, I think, 3 or 4 years strength. And then they sold it to my friend, she was single Black female, and then she caught the hard part of it during COVID years, but she kept POCO alive. She kept it open. And I'm appreciative of her. I don't know how she did it, but she managed to keep POCO alive during that tough period. And then I said, let me come in and take over from here. And with that transition, it became POCO Bar and Lounge. And the reason why I did that, I wanted it to be more inclusive. So if you don't drink, still come to POCO. You want a mocktail, you want no-tail, come to POCO. And I emphasize the lounge because that's the distinction of the place. You come in there, it has a speakeasy vibe. There's a whole second floor that is hidden, but not hidden, is there. But folks don't think to go up there. It is like you have to pass the bar to go up the staircase. Almost people feel like they have a permission to go upstairs. So I like, how do I emphasize the Poco Bar and Lounge to make it more inclusive, right? And then I also changed the word Poco itself. No longer mean little, right? I've turned it to an acronym, purposeful, organic, captivating, optimistic. That's the mission. Mm. And so now I'm in the process of letting that take root, of create a space where you can really foster transformative conversations in this environment around the table. So having cocktails and conversations, or just round table conversations, maybe not cocktail, where ideas of what is possible as individuals or as group or as, community can come and expand towards building a greater and better world. That's the space I want to play in. And that's what I've been playing in for Poco. And once that starts to take root, I can replicate that across other Pocos around the U.S. and beyond.
Wow. I love that. I love it. I absolutely love it. But what made you decide to take on this venture, especially with the fact that you love to travel so much? And it just seems like, you've already explained to us how you're able to do it. But at the same time, because you love to travel and you like to go, having a physical business that does require some of your time, effort, energy, and your person just seems like may not be the greatest fit, even though that you're making it happen. Why did you decide to take on this opportunity?
Now, I love that question. I would say, if you asked me last year, would I look to buy a restaurant? No, right? It was not in my vision. It was a calling. Like when she mentioned she was looking to sell the restaurant, my immediate reaction was, what about me? I didn't plan that, to say that or think that. Time passed, my birthday. So around this time last year, this is what you're referring to around September, October, she asked me again. No, she just mentioned she listed it for sale. I said, I was like, actually upset. Like, you listed it for sale? Why? I told you I'll buy it. So I reaffirmed my own self twice. Again, didn't think about why. And it was literally, his energy told me, you're meant to buy it. And I thought it was my son. He's in the food industry, creating an opportunity space for him. It was beyond that too. I told him, no pressure, son. It's not just you. I feel that if I can take what I'm doing my day job, which is inclusion, diversity, and equity, and actually build a physical space that inspires creation and thoughts and perspectives in a collective cross-cultural way, what I take an intent, right? And also I'm writing a book, as on top of the other stuff, I'm writing a book as well about inspiration, inspiring leadership. It plays that too. So for me, it was like, here I have a physical space that can incubate to my ideas of what is possible and see it play out in that physical form. That's the reason why I said, okay, put my hand up and go jump into it. And I never saw it being a single source, one location. My day job, I grew up in risk management and program management. So I always get things to build in programs or products that can be replicated. So in my mind, day one was, I'm going to start here, learn, pilot here, incubate it here, and replicate it. So to me, that infused the travel. So I have multiple locations, and I'll be traveling for locations in a purposeful way, right? Visit the business, ensure the mission and vision is still intact, and why not have a glass of wine, experience the culture of people in that space too. That, to me, is a feeder source to my future Jesse of Pocos being everywhere where I can explore and communicate in such a way. And how do I have my staff and team also grow with me? And that's something I'm building into as well. So that way I'm committed to building not only social change, but economic change for our community. And that's where and why and how I did it.
I love it. All of it. Every aspect of it. Now, I do want to shift gears to the 9-to-5 and talk a little bit more about Amazon because, when I first started Life's a Vacay and I started thinking about how you have a life of vacay, I wanted to be very clear that there are people who have 9-to-5s, and I'm not trying to tell people go quit your 9-to-5 and go live this dream that you have, because oftentimes you need to be able to fund that dream, and it requires that you may have a 9 to 5, right? And there are some people like yourself who are able to have a 9 to 5 and still be able to live the life that they want on their own terms. They just have to be very practical about it. And they also have to be very clear about their intentions on how they want to do it. And that requires that they plan. And you've already talked about that. But I really would like for you to talk about, like, you have an amazing job at Amazon. And I would say that you're doing what you're purposed to do at Amazon. Now, I'm not saying that that'll be forever, but right now you work at Amazon. Tell us a little bit about, like, why you continue to show up at Amazon and why this 9 to 5 is a perfect match for you to continue to fuel the life that you are creating on your own terms.
What comes to my mind is, if you haven't done it, I highly encourage it. It's one of my friends and the person who's had a significant, amazing part of my life. She was really big on drawing out, like, kind of mind mapping, right? And all of the intersections of your why, right? And how things pour into you and how you pour out. And so I go a short journey of where I'm at and why. So Amazon been here 6 years, and what's kept me here 6 years, and I feel fully inclined to stay longer, is my leadership team. My management team has been very supportive of, once you bake the culture and of the company that's aligned to your values and purpose, it becomes easy. And so I grew up in the consulting world. I'm used to constant change, constant fluctuations, right? I had different leadership teams out. And so when I first left consulting and, Deloitte & Touche, and I went to industry, I struggled because it's so static. The same thing every day, 9 to 5. That wasn't me. I didn't want to sit at my desk. I felt trapped. I literally said, I'm not sitting at my desk. I will go sit at other people's desks in conference rooms, because I didn't like this feeling of I had to stay in one space. I never experienced that in 10 plus years of my career. And then here I am. And so my first couple opportunities didn't fit me, right? It wasn't me. And Amazon, I realized quickly, it's a tech company. I can sit anywhere. I still have a desk, right? Office. But I was everywhere. And they embrace my mobility, physically in the space, and also virtually in the space. So I felt since day one the opportunity that we have the tools and resources and laptops and our online tools that you may hear chiming while we're talking right now. Those allow me to still be accessible and reachable and in a way that we can cooperate. And that's been since day one. On top of that, it was my career. I grew up in IT risk management, risk and controls in the finance world. That's where I grew up at. Now I'm in HR doing inclusion, diversity, and equity. I literally changed careers within the same company, right? And how I was able to do it in a culture that, if you base in the leadership principles, your transferable skills is accepted and welcome and appreciated. That's literally the culture. They say, okay, I purposely will move person A over to Y so we can learn from these unique skills, and take person Y, move them over to A. Some cases, and help grow. That's the secret sauce of taking transformative skills and then woven in other experiences. So for me, moving over to diversity, the transferable skill was risk management. HR is also people risk management, right? And looking at process and controls, looking at how can we look at equity in our processes to make sure that we support all elements of humans. If you're disabled, if it's LGBTQ+, if it's gender, if it's race, if whatever it may be, how do we make sure we embrace those uniqueness and differences in an equitable way? It's the same concept I did in my risk management work at process and controls, right? And so what keeps me here is, over here we're able to create mechanisms, shape systems, empower our employees to create equitable workplace, right? And we look at all levels of talent hiring process, from the point of being identified to the point of actually hiring and starting, to developing, promoting, to retiring, right? And so for me, I mentioned earlier, I love humans. It literally feeds into who I am as a core person, right? And I remember when I was in risk management, my older team kept saying, you should do more in diversity. Why aren't you doing diversity? So everyone pretty much kicked me over to the other side, right? It was like, you're doing it so much anyway. Why not align? And then finally, I had this epiphany. I kept doing more and more and more and more. I'm still guilty of that, right? I do more and more and more and more, and you call it out, right? I shifted to saying I want to do greater. I've always been involved in some diversity groups. I've always done councils and working teams. I've always been involved in nonprofits on some leadership role. I want to do greater. How can I help tens of thousands versus one or two? The one and two is also very impactful. I don't want to discredit that. But if I can scale the impact and help greater and do greater, why not? So Amazon, for me, has played that platform, that tool, to allow me to do greater for a larger community. I support our infrastructure services businesses for Amazon Web Services. That's a significant size of the business portfolio. You know, that cloud computing you all look up in the sky for, well, reality is actually here on land in massive data centers all around the world with network cables being funneled throughout our physical space and connect. That's where my customer resides. If I can support those, we call them builders in those spaces there to ensure that they are heard, seen, respected, valued, appreciated, then that's why I'm still here. And that's what encouraged me to come every day.
I love it. And let me tell you why I love it. Because oftentimes, people who are still trying to find your purpose, and your purpose, that's something that you really truly have to identify with the why, right? And you talked about that. But I also love it for the simple fact that you have so many people who try to sell you, quit your day job, follow your dream, start a business. That's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart. I started several businesses and some of them worked, some of them didn't. And at the end of the day, it comes back to your total commitment and how you show up with your why. And so I'm all for people keeping their jobs as long as their job identifies or it is aligned with that why, right? And it makes sense because when you're doing something that you love to do and it's aligned with who you are as an individual, then you can show up and you can make it work. And that doesn't mean that you can't do other things because like you have shown, you are doing those other things. I'm sure you took some of that money that Amazon pays you and you help. It helped you buy the business, right? And it also helps you to continue to travel. And so you've brought that full circle. We are about to run out of time. So I normally ask someone, give me 3 things that are tactical that someone can use to help them do what you do, right? But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is give me 3 things that are tactical that you feel allows people to be able to have a 9-to-5 job and still show up living the life that they desire to have.
Tactical. I would say, 1, I have a powerful book I just referred recently. I'm grabbing it. Sorry for the delay there. It's called The Power of Now. Right, and his name is Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Power Now. This is not easy read. Don't let them fool you. Oh, it's only 200 pages. It is 200 powerful sit with pages that will help you really shift your narrative. And then also, I'm about to read another book, Power of Regret. When you start to unpack where you are at stop and you remove those stoppages, you are unleashed and you're a powerful, amazing human being, what you're out to create. So those are my first tactical things, is saying you don't have to figure out on your own. There's 8+ billion people in this world, and it's 8+, and people live before us. And we got a lot of great content on Google and books that's been written by other humans that have traveled the journeys that you're looking to travel. That's my 1 tactical thing. Read up. Do audiobooks. I am myself am not a fast reader, so I will often grab a book and listen to the audio at the same time. And that allows me to stay on pace with what I'm reading. And I actually comprehend more because I can hear the audio of the words with the written, and I retain more. So everyone has their equitable way of reading. I encourage you to embrace it unapologetically. So that's number 1. Number 2, set your intentions. Set your intentions loosely that you don't feel like you failed if it doesn't go the way you went. Loosely, hey, I want to set the intentions of X and keep that flexibility. Make sure it's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, and time bound, right? That SMART goal. Same way here too. Make it, don't set something that's, I want to be, in Tahiti tomorrow. Well, okay, that may be possible, but the likelihood is probably not unless you got some great deal online and you saw it when you made that statement. Just be fair on yourself on what it looks like. And then the last, bring others on the journey. That's the tactical piece. Bring others on the journey. So read up, set your intentions in writing, and bring others on a journey, because every time I share what I'm up to creating, I get amazing insights from others on what they've done similar, and it can help me out get there quicker, smarter, or and be more informed. Does that help answer your question?
It does. I always love talking to you. I love watching you. You are very inspirational, and one thing I can say about you is that you make it happen. And until today, I didn't really know how you did it, but I knew that you were doing it. And so one of the things that always inspires me is when I see people live the life that they talk about. It's easy for somebody to talk about something, but it's really difficult for someone to put what they're talking about into action consistently. And so you do that. And so I appreciate that. And I would love to just continue to talk to you. So I'm going to have to bring you back. Yes. We're going to have to talk a little bit more about all the other great things, because we never even got to the travel piece, which I think is extremely important, because you go to some amazing places. You're not just traveling, you travel big. You on yachts, popping bottles, you're doing all this stuff, planes, your pilots. So I want people to know that part of you too. But I also wanted them to know that you do have a 9-to-5, and then you do have a business, and you are still able to balance that with the things that you love to do. And that's extremely important, because people feel like I can't do it, or there's so many things that's blocking me from having this ideal life. So thank you for joining me. Tell people, give them the address to Poco so that they can hit you up when they come to Seattle. And if you have your website, they can reach out to you.
I love that. So I'll spell it out. Poco, Poco, Seattle.com. So PocoSeattle.com. You can find me on most social media as Mr. Rhodes, spelled out MisterRhodes. So Mr. Rhodes, because the MR was taken. You gonna ask that question, why do you spell out Mr.? Because the MR was taken. But Mr. Rhodes I have a website, actually is easier. Type in MrRhodes.net. Actually, that one is MrRhodes.net. As you are a part of my network, I thought it was fitting to have a website called MrRhodes.net. And that's where you can find all of my social media connections, make life much easier. You can also find Poco there soon, shortly, if not already. So more to come in that space too. When we talk next about MrRhodes.net and what's upcoming in that space too.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Mr. Rhodes, for joining me. I'm your host, Child Jones. If you like this show, please subscribe, share, and by all means, donate to keep it going. Until next time, remember always to find time to live and express your own freedom. It's been real. Peace.
All day.
You have been listening to Life's a Vacay podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Every day you have a choice, so choose yourself and never allow your circumstances to dictate the life you live. Whatever you don't like, you can change. Remember, nothing happens overnight, but know that when you set goals and take inspired action, whatever you desire can come in perfect timing. Never give up on creating the life you deserve. Don't anticipate your next vacation when you could be living a whole life on vacation. Until next time, I'm your host, Cha Jones. Please remember to like and share. this podcast so that others can be inspired. Peace.